Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Jess, your favorite hostess. Welcome to the Talking Stick. And I thought I'd jump on today as sort of a surprise episode. Kind of, I didn't really, let you guys know that we'd be doing this today. I kind of had a busy day and I wasn't sure if I'd make it here back in time to be with you today. So here we are. Um, And today I thought we'd talk a little bit about something that I think is actually kind of becoming a little bit more of an epidemic in our country than others. Apparently, we have the highest incidence of post traumatic stress disorder. Now, I'm sure worldwide, there's always, when it comes to mental health, the people who are not being counted, who aren't speaking up, who haven't been diagnosed and part of the statistical reality. So, you know, I thought for myself, it is something I've been struggling with, as I've mentioned before, um, really since the death of my daughter, I would say. And I think a lot of people struggle. I think COVID and the things that happened to us during COVID and what a crazy reality it became just like really overnight. I mean, to me, it was just like three, two, one, stay home. And then it was like, stay home and stay home. Don't come out, wear a mask, stay home. It's crazy, people are dying, stay home. And I think for all of us, that was just like it turned like the ship over. So I thought it would be good just to kind of talk about that a little bit today and see sort of what the symptoms are and maybe what we can do for each other. I know that it's really prevalent among um, veterans, and I mean, it's obvious why, right? I mean, I know just boot camp would probably give this chick PTSD. So, you know, um, I really, my heart goes out to the veterans out there who really do put their, not only their lives, but their well-being, at stake to protect us as a nation. And so, anybody out there that's a vet, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your service. And I really hope we can find some more tools for all of you and for anyone else out there who's struggling with traumatic stress disorder, post-traumatic stress. So statistically, we have about a 3.5% incidence of a life over a lifetime of Americans who actually develop this disorder. Now, in other countries such as Europe, Africa, Asia, and Latin America, other areas, they run about a point half to 1% of the population. So we're talking 3 to 6 times more likely as an American, maybe even 7 times if it's the 0.5. So that's pretty big. What is it? What is it about? I'd love to hear anybody who has any ideas of like, what is it about our culture that really causes that incident, to be the incidence of this disorder to be higher. So, you know, um, I think it was like 6.8% of Americans actually, statistically, really at the current statistical rate, it's more about a 6%, um, and you know, with veterans it's 12. So it's twice as high for veterans, and I mean the reasons are pretty much self-explanatory. So let's talk about a little bit about the symptoms. So there's a lot of symptoms here, and it often does interfere with your daily activities and tasks. So it usually starts within a few weeks to a month of the event that causes it. So, intrusive memories, recurrent, unwanted, distressing memories of the event, reliving it as if it were happening again. So, that's referred to as, flashbacks. Dreams or nightmares, this seems to be pretty common. And severe emotional distress or a physical reaction when you are reminded of the traumatic event. So, yeah, I mean, this can relate back into kind of what we were talking about with grief. I also, feel as though some of these can be very relatable to that. So, in my opinion, and the death of a loved one, or near death experiences for yourself is definitely part of what can cause a PTSD response in the body and the brain. Avoidance, trying to avoid talking about or thinking about the event, and also avoiding places, people, and activities that may also remind you. You may have a negative change in your thinking and your mood. So you think more negatively about yourself and the world around you. You're feeling hopeless, you're having memory problems, difficulty maintaining relationships and feeling detached from family and friends. I think it's totally valid to feel as though that this, traumatic event then separates you from the rest of the people around you who didn't experience that. Um, a lack of interest in the activities you once enjoyed. I mean, I know that for me for a fact. Like I definitely have. I'm still struggling to get back into art, which I used to do for. I mean, anyone that knows me knows I used to be able to do art. I mean, incessantly, all day long. I could sit. I'd go outside for a cup of coffee in the front porch, at 9 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and bring my little pointillism and sit there and with my markers and create an image. 14 hours later, I'd be done sitting in the same position pretty much. So I could focus, and was really enjoy myself doing something like that. And it's been a while. And feeling emotionally numb. Changes in physical, emotional, and emotional reactions. Now, to me, this is probably the most profound part to me. These physical and emotional changes that I have experienced. Being easily startled. Oh my goodness, I have this crazy startle reflex, right? Uh, and it gets worse when I'm under stress. So, I mean, I could be in my own house, and if someone who I expect is going to be in the house is there when I don't expect them, like I open the door and they're there or something. I mean, I'm like, it's a discerned reaction. So, always being on guard for danger. Oh gosh, this one. Um, Yeah, I talked about this with Gaia. It's just really difficult sometimes to separate the idea that because it happened once doesn't mean it's going to happen again. And your brain just can't understand that. Um, so yeah, the fear of any danger is huge, because for me, the way I explain it to my therapist is like, once my greatest fear became real, it suddenly seemed like everything I fear is no longer, 10 steps away. It's like, right here, nose to nose. And nothing has brought any of those things more, that those dangers closer. In reality, it's just that now my brain is suddenly fearful of all the things that are lesser than that which I was most afraid of, which happened to me, the loss of a child. So my other child gets the brunt of this PTSD a lot of the time, wherein I like literally interview all their friends, where they're going, ask, I still have her contact me when she goes and comes back from a place just like she was 11. Yeah, so self-destructive behavior, that's not one I've really engaged except for like smoking too much weed, which I stopped doing. And mixing it with tobacco. So like for a minute there, I was definitely like, you know, smoking and being a chimney over here, just, sitting and doing nothing but smoking and thinking. And it was just too much. So I have definitely, stopped that at this point. And I'm definitely trying to heal. Trouble concentrating, irritability, angry outbursts, or aggressive behavior. Irritability for sure. And again, it'll often surround, like, if I think something's happening that I fear, or it's even possible, if the remote possibility enters, my sphere, it suddenly becomes like, and I just think it's going to happen, and my brain literally starts to pick up details of the circumstance that aren't really even there. So, and then overwhelming guilt or shame, of course, like, especially if it, depending on what's causing I know that rape victims and things like that, their PTSD includes a lot of guilt and shame. And for me, I have some guilt too. There's a for children 6 and under, there are a few different symptoms. Now, children older than that will often have very similar symptoms to adults, so it's not as different as it may have been, and for the 6 and under. So 6 and under, they will reenact through play this traumatic event, and then they also may have really frightening dreams that maybe aren't directly related to the event, but have some sense of semblance. So, the intensity is, it's just like any other, you know, thing that we deal with, like with emotional and mental health issues. It definitely can have intensities that vary, you know. So if a car backfires and your trauma included a gunshot, that may trigger you, even though um, it isn't an actual gunshot, right? But you could be doing fine, and then that happens, and it starts things all over again, and you're struggling again. So it's definitely something that has that, backward and forward, circular, not linear nature. Just sort of like grief again, because we've already discussed that. So another real problem here is, because of what I just described, because it does come and go, and it can be so overwhelming. I just, again, can't imagine some of the levels of PTSD that veterans and people who have experienced extremely, firsthand traumatic events. I mean, what this must be like for them. And so suicide is a very big, suicide attempts, suicidal ideation, as well as successful suicide, is definitely something that is prevalent in the world of PTSD, right? So, the VA is definitely, looking for solutions for our veterans. And, you know, ketamine is now becoming a great help. And I know it's helping me a lot. So, I'm not paid as much as I'd love to be paid by a ketamine company to work for them and help with this, you know, endeavor of getting this to the people and to the masses so people don't have to suffer anymore. I'm not paid by anybody, so it's just my own personal experience. But what type of trauma actually causes PTSD as far as statistics are concerned? We have 49% rape. Wow. Rape victims, and my heart goes to you. Um, I'm so sorry for you know that experience, and how much that must affect your intimacy and your ability to create relationships. And some of the most you know vital experiences we have as humans include intimacy, so, and trust. So, my heart goes out to you guys for sure. 31.9% is physical assault, outside of sexual assault or severe beating. And then 23.7 is other types of sexual assault. So, wow, man. I mean, we need to address this. Sexual assault, rape. I mean, really, like, if look at how, like, oh my goodness, that's just an amazingly high amount of the trauma that we're looking at as far as PTSD is concerned. I'd say outside of combat levels of PTSD. Let's see. The next one is a serious injury caused by an accident, uh, and then stabbing and shooting victims at 15.4%, 14% unexpected or sudden death of a loved one. Uh, the next is life-threatening illness of a child. Um, Next is seeing someone being killed or seriously injured at 7.3%. And then we fall at 3.8% of natural disasters. So, you know, 94% of women who were raped develop PTSD symptoms during the first 2 weeks. 30% of them still are experiencing symptoms 9 months later. I mean, yeah, I don't know where that's coming from, but it seems to me like a lot of people it's not something that goes away really fast. It actually takes work, and counseling and coping mechanisms, and learning those things, and sometimes medication. ECT therapy, I know, can be helpful for both traumatic brain injury and PTSD, as well as treatment resistant depression, right, and suicidal ideation. The problem is that it's sort of like, I don't know if I want to use the word violent, but it is somewhat, you know extreme, and it causes a need for the body to heal in other ways. And so, but you know I have known it to be extremely effective when you follow through with what is necessary from you in the post treatment protocol, right? So if you are suffering and you don't want to do the ketamine, which also does help your brain and your neural pathways sort of bust open and have the ability to reform out of those frayed and you know traumatic pathways that are caused or pathways of the trauma that are caused in your brain. The ketamine does help, but so does ECT in a very similar way. So ECT is often covered by insurance. Um, yeah, so yeah, look into that if you are suffering. Um, let's see. So this one's going to be kind of short. I just wanted to talk about it because, again, as I said, it's really an epidemic almost in our country comparatively to others. And I just feel like we need to learn to support each other and see these symptoms. And it can be very scary for people who don't understand. So, I think there's like support out there if you are, the primary caregiver or partner of someone who suffers. It's really important to get educated for yourself as well and to give yourself love, not just them as much as they need from you. Taking care of yourself. I would assume that there is some type of secondary um, injury that would happen to someone who is there around, almost like a compensatory injury over caregiving and trying to love someone through this disorder, right? And so I think it's really important to you know give yourself a little bit when it comes to that, and take care of yourself. Don't forget about yourself. So let's look a little bit at you know again, I just want to go through a list of the effects, like we did talk earlier about, sort of what it was and the different symptoms and stuff, that negative mood symptoms, the alterations in your mood, in your mind and stuff. So the effects, though, let's give a list of the effects. Pseudo hallucination, eating disorders, paranoia, difficulty regulating emotions, inability to maintain relationships, dissociative symptoms, depression, anger, nightmares, difficulty, feeling any emotion, guilt, sleep problems, substance abuse, social phobia, difficulty maintaining jobs, agoraphobia, self harm, self mutilation, and suicidal thoughts, attempts, or completed suicide. So those are pretty intense, and for me, I definitely say that I'd probably have about half of those symptoms. So you don't have to have every single symptom in order to have, that's super important to remember about any disorder. Um, you don't have to have every single symptom, right? So, um, I think it's really important to also learn about, how to cope with trauma. Um, so this will be kind of where we leave off. There's really no normal way. Everyone is different. There's people who try to repress the event and distract themselves, or some will sit there and literally focus constantly. So it's really important to know that, again, no two disorders look alike. We can all have the same problem or the same diagnosis, but have completely different symptoms. So, please keep that in mind. And, seek help. Now, what does that look like? It can be, like there's a 12-step program, there's a many holistic approaches here. And, it's mostly that type of really, I don't want to say talk therapy. I know there are some medications, but, it is very, very risky sometimes to um, to actually, engage in medications for some people. Now, um, there's a whole list of medications that are proper or could be proper. So cannabis is actually for some people now. I will say, if you don't use the right type of cannabis, it can kind of flip over into the other direction. So be aware of that. I think sativa would probably be like horrible uh, for PTSD, and something more indica and something more relaxing for the body and mind would definitely be the choice, right? CBDs could be good as well. Um, and yeah, right here it says that CBD has a 91% effectiveness. So um, that is something to keep in mind about that. So then there's also, talk therapy and behavioral therapy. Um, I'm really actually surprised to see cannabis really so itemized. So yeah, that's really great. I'm a big believer in cannabis for many things, and all, as psychedelic healing, which, you know, cannabis is considered a mild psychedelic. So, don't be afraid to get out there and try to find help. Again, it's not going to be the same for everyone, but there are a number of different cognitive and behavioral therapies that help you cope. CBD is not psychoactive and can be taken, regularly. I know people who even give it to their pets for travel, because they have anxiety. So, get out there and give yourself that little bit of help, because I know for me, it has been hell. It is hell. The world suddenly that I trusted. I mean, I used to hitchhike and travel all over the country as a young girl, and in my teens, and until I had Eden, and like I would have never. I had just like a super fearless nature, and now it's just totally different. It's totally different. I mean, everything causes me to expand it and think about it, overthink and over worry. I definitely have issues with trust, of the world, of God, of or the universe, and people. And I mean, they have nothing to do with what happened to me, or to my daughter. So it's super difficult to understand. So please give yourself grace, in the sense of that it's okay, you know, and just know that you can be helped, and that we just sometimes have to strike out a few times before we hit that home run. You know what I mean? So, anyhow, I'll just leave it there. Like a little short one tonight. It does look like I'm going to start pre-recording for now until we build a greater following. It looks like more people actually watch at later times, and that'll give me the opportunity to actually sort of put fun stuff in the corner. Like, I could put up little things in the corners, and kind of edit, even though I'm going to just do it one take so that it's still very authentic and not overly scripted, because like I really like that part. So anyway, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope this helps you or somebody that you love understand a little bit more about what they may be experiencing, especially if you weren't even realizing it yet, because it took me a minute to realize that it was actually, PTSD and grief that I was experiencing. So it looks like I will be back, likely tomorrow. I will post up tomorrow night. It's Friday night. So I will do my best tomorrow to post up, or maybe I'll just show up like I did tonight with a topic that I want to talk about. And yeah, and then this weekend I'm going to prepare for next week and slate them all as premieres, one each day, so that there is one every day, despite life happening and Gaia needing rides and all that. So again, I thank you so much uh, for showing and for making that effort to grow and for inevitably just glowing, because when we heal we glow, and that's all we can do as humans, because we're always going to get broken. That's part of life. It's part of life. So you're not alone. And once again, the Talking Stick Collective at Gmail. Anybody wants to send a message, please do. I will be getting a phone number soon as well for people to call. You just want to chat. I can't always answer it, but I can call back. You can always text as well, so that'll be kind of fun. But anyway, I will see you guys on the flip. See you tomorrow. Ooh, it's the weekend. 11/11. Ooh, I gotta think of a good topic for tomorrow. Okay, we'll see you guys then, and until then, have a great night. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.